Recording in progress.
Evet, Naomi, Sara, Katrina,
Okay, we'll make a start. This meeting is webcast. If you're not happy with this and it's being recorded as well, please leave the meeting. Right. Thank you very much and welcome to you all here and to those of you who are virtually joining us to the first meeting after the summer. Hopefully you've had a bit of a rest. We will start therefore on our program and apologies, please, anyone. Councillor James Jones? No, Mr. Tim Jones. Right, there are three, I think, that we don't know of. Right. I'll bring you up to speed with where I've been since the last meeting in beginning of July. Seems a long time ago now. I met with the chief executive of Conwy, with Emir, to discuss the economy, the visitors economy, and the carbon. And hopefully it was a successful meeting, and we are going to cooperate with them in the future. Also at the show, the agriculture show in Belfast, we met with the minister for the environment on the Monday, and we discussed nature regeneration and the situation, financial situation. And now we've heard that there's a deficit of 900 million, worse than I thought, in government. So it looks pretty bad at the moment. Also, we had the pleasure, beginning of August, of welcoming Minister here to Eryri. She came to Plas. Maybe Emma will expand on that. She met with himself and the vice chair at the main office, and I think it was quite a successful meeting. She was pleased with everything that she saw, and left quite happy, from what I understand. And the letter of thanks we came from her testified to that. And yeah, that's the other thing I've been doing, is to begin on assessing the members of from the Welsh Government, and thank you all for being so willing to do this. And we had quite open conversations, successful conversations, I think, and it was lovely to have a conversation with some of them, because I've not had such a conversation with people face to face. It was over Zoom usually, so that was successful. Also, on Monday, I think it was Monday, there's a meeting of the Rural Forum, and I attended that. I haven't been previously, so that was quite interesting. There were different discussions there on subjects, and they discussed lobbying activity in the manifesto, and that was, from what I understand, there'd been discussions held previously at the show and at the National Eisteddfod. They wanted to cooperate more with external bodies, such as two rural growth from Senedd and Welsh Government. Also, there's a presentation from Professor Mike Wolf on innovation, local innovation in Professor Mike Woods from Aberystwyth University on rural innovation, and they've put a bid in at the moment that's in two parts to develop what does it say now? I apologize, I can't remember. I was trying to take notes, and it was moving. They've put in a bid for two bids to have a program in place, and for the second part of the request for funds to go, which is to go in this month with 4 of the partners funded up to 4.8 million over 3 years from December onwards, and everybody was in support of that. They wanted the support of the meeting, and everybody supported. Unfortunately, I had to leave then. I had another meeting to attend. Also, I would like to remind you that there is cyber security training. You will have had an email about that. It's an annual thing, and I encourage you all to take that opportunity. And there's training for new members up in Northumberland from National Parks UK. I don't know. Nobody went last year to that one from Eryri. I'm not sure whether anybody's. When is that then? Do you know? In November. Delith and Louise have responded. Yeah, thank you both for being so willing to go. And also the Chairs Forum is up in the Lakes next week, next Friday. I'm unable to attend, but Tim Jones and Chief Executive are going to attend on my behalf. I think that's all I have to share. So we will now move on to corporate update. And could I ask the Chief Executive? Thank you, Chair. Yes, just to reiterate what the Chair said about the Minister's visit, very happy with our work, and she's been around the 3 parks now, and seems to have moved and understood our work better, and is very supportive of us. In the financial context, she raised the financial deficit across Welsh Government, and I'm aware that the Chief Executive and chairs of some bodies have been in to have a conversation. We haven't had that conversation yet, which is a good sign that there possibly won't be cuts within Eryri. She saw the work here at the PLAS, nature matters about Ogwen, to do with Ogwen and Pen y Pass. It was a very good day. Other updates, do you remember that we had a report on about the raising income in the authority in the last report? Now they're going to do a piece of work looking at the risk level, the risk level in the 3 parks. We're going to submit a report to the government on that, and agree on how much risk we are going to take. I can't see in much sense doing that detailed work until we know what kind of risk and what kind of support are we going to get from Welsh Government on that. We had a presence at the Eisteddfod Anna Meirion show. But very much appreciates lots of visitors and lots of people asking very interesting questions, and appreciate how that's very good. Updates on Eryri that the repair work is going to start. It's happening now. Unfortunately, because it's late in the term, it's going to be done in 2 parts, and then in the February, in the spring. Eva Lloyd and myself are going to attend Holland next year for a conference there. And the only other matter I have is, apart from that, is the work that the National Resources Wales are doing on the designation of the 4th park in Wales. They have now opened for consultation sessions. There's one next week They've released a map as well, which is interesting. That stretches from Bryn Clwyd down to Eryri, that whole area over the Mygnant, Berwyn, Fernwy and so forth. So it'll be interesting to see how the engagement happens over that. Hopefully we will have representation from the authority at that specific workshop, looking at the areas, specific areas of the area. That's all. Thank you. Thank you. Emyr, right, we'll go to item number 3, public question time. Right. No questions then. Any declarations of interest on any matters on the agenda today? All right. Okay, so we'll move to minutes of the last meeting. Is anybody happy to move that the minutes of the meeting of the 14th of June are a true record? Hello. So could you show of hands, please, in the usual way that you're in agreement? Right, thank you. Okay then, so for information, any matters arising from the minutes? So page 3. 4. 5. 6. 7. 8. 9. And 10. Nothing from anybody? No? Right, okay, so moves on to number 7, the action log. We'll hand over to Iwan. Thank you. Sorry, I'm having difficulty hearing him. An update to you, first of all. The panel meeting happening a week today. I will be monitoring the situation. Sorry, I can't pick up what he's saying, sorry.
Yeah. The interpreter's having difficulty hearing Ewan.
I can't hear either. The mic isn't picking him up. It's coming in and out. It kind of comes in and out. Could you say something again, Ewan, for us to hear? You can repeat what he said. I'll go through it again. It's better now. Okay, so on item number 7, there are 2 items on the action log, and you will see update on the first item, and the panel are meeting week today, and so that item remains on the list at the moment and then the second item, we've agreed that Nia Murray will monitor the situation, and anything that arises during the next 12 months. So that is to remain on the list. Thank you. Right, thank you, Iwan. Any questions or comments on the action log? No? Are we all happy that it remains as it is? Can somebody move? Okay, everybody of the same view? Everybody in agreement? Thank you. So that's been carried. Right, we'll move on to number 8, annual report 2022-2023. Iwan again. I'm afraid, yeah, Iwan? Yeah. Thank you. You'll have a rest in a minute. Thank you. And the format of this report will be familiar to you by now. And reporting back on 2022-2023, the content has been is in the report, paragraph 2 to 1 to 2. starts with the chair's summary and then details of the park, the corporate vision for the authority then, and then the principle of sustainability for the authority, moving on how the how that was all set out, and the part section with much more detail, a summary of the increase made during the year, and finishes off with performance management. If I could draw your attention to one mistake, and then the chair's report on page 3, paragraph down there, last but one sentence, it says that should be a lot in the English. It reads trustees, it should read members in the English as well, rather than trustees. So there's a mistake there in both versions, in both languages. The only thing I would draw your attention to further in this authority from the report itself is on page 14 of the report itself. Sets out the well-being aims. I've updated those there, what the situation is currently, as the report is now historical, and so we're working to the Welsh Government's terms of reference on that. And then also on page, hold on a minute, 54, there's a brief evaluation of the progress to date. As you see, I'm assessing there all actions that have happened during the year, and come to the conclusion that there's good progress made on all of the program of work. The program of work will, of course, be familiar with that, because we're reporting on the one. We report on this at every committee meeting, so you will have seen the progress during the year. So the traffic light system that we have here shouldn't be any surprise to you. The recommendation is that you discuss the content of the report, and then agree that we approve it so that we can publish it. Thank you. Thank you, Iwan. Before we go to the recommendation, I will open it up to the floor, just in case anybody has any questions or comments to make on the report. Everybody happy? It seems that everybody is quite happy. John Peel. You're on mute. Sorry. Yes. Is this the report that you've put in against demise of nature? You know, is this the one we're on now? Sorry, I don't understand what you're saying. I'm on. You've passed that, Javi. Sorry, I do apologise. Chair's report. You're on this now, are you? Which page are you on? I'm on page 6. 6. We're long left page 6. No, carry on. Sorry, apologies. There's two numbers on the pages. Hold on a minute now. I'll go back to it now, right? So there's lots of we need to be very careful with fighting the demands of nature, we need to make sure that we know who we blame. A lot of farmers are in this Glastir that's coming to an end. I don't think we'll be able to blame anything on anybody specifically who works on the land, because they have been under restrictions of all of the, like Glastir. So we need to look forward far more. There are lots of things like that. I think that's John. What they're asking us to do with this report is to report on the activities of this authority, not on others' activities. So it's not a criticism of anybody there. It just is a reflection, like the SMSs that as identified. We're just reporting on what we do. So it's a very small part that we do, of course, in the wider picture. Okay, thank you. Right, thank you. Does anybody else have any comments or any questions then? Or move that we propose that we move forward on this? Okay. So anybody happy to move that we are happy to approve this and adopt this annual report? Yeah. Seconded. We show of hands, please. Usual manner. Right. So that's been carried. Thank you very much then, and thank you, Iwan. Right. So we will go now to number 9. And the annual report on the actual treasury management activity in 22-23, and Chief Finance Officer is here to report on this. Could I welcome you, Dewi, to the meeting? Thank you very much. Thank you for the welcome. Yep. So all what we have is an annual report on the treasury management activities, a report on the year to date end of March. So this is 22-23. You'll see in that first paragraph that it's under simplified code of practice. It's that we're required, the ones that a set of standards for public sector, is that we have to report to you as an authority on the results of that actual activity at the end of the financial year, to summarize the year, and also what we report to you during the year at our meetings about the events during the year. I think it's important to note during the year, as you see there, that activity of the authority has remained within boundaries set by yourselves as an authority before the beginning of the financial year in February 2022 now. That's what we're talking about here. So you adopted a treasury management strategy, and it's good to say that you were able to operate within those. What's important to note is, of course, that the financial year that we're looking at here, 22-23, has been quite a exciting one on one hand in terms of the treasury management area, with lots of events and activities happening. Mainly, inflation increasing considerably, mainly because of the war in Ukraine. That's caused a huge increase in the international economy, which has pushed inflation up, not in terms of the cost of energy and gas and oil, but a result of that is a cost increase in the cost of food. So inflation has gone up. It's starting to come down now. I think in August it was down to 6.8% CPI. It hit something like 13% back in February 23. So the results of high inflation is that the central bank, like the Bank of England, what they try to do, and the policy, financial policy committee they have is to increase interest rates to persuade people to not to spend as much, and hopefully that would bring down inflation and reduce the demand within the market. And this morning there's been news about the August situation that was published. We saw that the economy in the UK was shrinking 0.5% from July 23 to August. So we can see that the effect of interest rates increase is starting to have an effect on the economy. It's a blunt instrument, if you like, to try and get, to those interest rates down. And it seems that it is starting to work, even though it is, painful for individuals, of course. So the result of the interest rates for you as Bank Authority, as one that invests rather than a body that borrows, is that there is far much higher interest rates been in 22-23 on. You see in paragraph 1.2, the budget. £8,000 of interest for the year, but actually you received 135,616 during the year of interest. That's been of assistance to you, of course. It's a double-edged sword. The interest rates is a result of this high interest rates. Inflation has hit you, so it's not all it's not all good news. You have to make the best of that increase in interest rates during the year. One of the things that's worth noting, of course, is that you as an authority aim CIPFA code of practice and the guidance from the authority asks the authority to invest that money in a prudent way, but also looking for that highest interest rate or interest rates that's possible. In terms of managing the cash flow, you need to make sure that the money's coming in before then that has to go out. And what we've seen during the year is that there's money available before you need to spend it, so that we can invest that in appropriate ways and in line with the authority's policy that's been invested within bank accounts that pay interest. So there's a table of these. And in a prudent way, this has been shared across a number of financial institutions, not just in one bank. You try and spread your risk across the board. And as you see from that table on page 73 of your pack, there's a number of banks: Santander, Bank of Scotland, Barclays, and so forth. So HSBC, as you see in the table, that's given an interest earned that's very healthy during the year. This goes some way to counterbalance the interest in inflation during the year, but looking forward to the year that we're in, halfway through that financial year. As I said earlier, there's an expectation these interest rates now are 5.25% from Bank of England. It seems that the economy is shrinking and inflation is starting to, as that happens and inflation starts to come, it's expected to go to 5.5% by in September. But it seems from financial advisors, it seems that the Bank of England have suggested that will be the peak, and that they will start to fall then, the interest rates, as the economy starts to shrink and people start to struggle, to get mortgages and so forth. So that we foresee that's what's going to happen. We do foresee that the interest rates will be higher than the budget again this year, but as I said, the item later on will look again at at this balance, putting a balance in this and the interest rates for this year. So that's the message. It's good news. The money is safe. It's given you good interest there, healthy, very healthy, and I'm happy to take any questions. Right, thank you, Dewi. You can see the recommendation there. Increase the any questions or comments then? For Dewi, Brian?
Thank you, Chair. No, it's a very encouraging report. and thank you for the work in compiling it and presenting it. One question regarding the interest earned, which is very pleasing to see that we have a healthy, if you like, income stream from that interest. Do we have a policy for how that interest is either allocated to current areas of the budget, or is it just put in a separate fund? How do we decide when we have that sort of extra stream, how we allocate it and use it?
Wel, diolch am y cwestiwn.
Thanks for the question. There is a report later on what usually happens, and this year, if you have overspent, then we look at the expenditure of the authority as a whole and look where the baseline of the authority and see how that looks. It's a matter really of looking at the authority levels to see if we can spend, and if there are elements of overspend, then we try to ensure that that can be used first, and we try and see what the reasons for overspend is. I don't know if anybody wants to add anything else to that, really, but my opinion, from a financial side of things, we're trying to keep the expenditure and revenue of the authority consistent on an authority level rather than looking at individual services. Can I just add to what Dewi said? As members, we did discuss the picture 3 years ago as members, and the maximum of deficit was 800,000 this year, but we'll be looking at that later. But for the next 3 years, we've agreed as an authority to use some reserves to take the financial speed bump out of the journey, and in order to alleviate the situation, rather than looking at specifics at the moment. If we were in a different situation where we were to get the inflation from Welsh Government, then we would be able to invest in additional work.
Thank you for that. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Ivor, how much budget are we carrying over as a percentage each year? As a percentage, we have reports in the next item. It has been 7% higher than the guidelines, but because we under the project-based situation at the moment, it's not all within our control as much. Also, we don't know what the true cost for places like Plas and income from the car parks is. It could be better, but in the current climate, I'm glad that we're in that situation rather than contrary. So it's not a specific percentage. Yes, 5% is a healthy percentage, and I don't have any objection to that. But it's not a figure to aim for as a target, obviously. We need to look at what we have and what the demand is, because not the reserves that we have is not general. A lot of it has been allocated for specific things, and other local authorities are in a similar situation. We have general reserves and allocated reserves, so it's difficult to put a specific target on it, really. Does anybody else have any questions or comments to make? So can we move on? You can see what the recommendation is that the members note the content of the report for information. Does anybody propose that? Does anybody second it? Can we have a show of hands in the usual way, please? Item 10, therefore. Dewi, once again, an update on the budget 2023, 2024. Oh, David, sorry. Yes, this is a report to update you on the first part of the quarter that well, 4 months really that came to an end in July. It just gives you an idea of the direction that we're foreseeing towards the end of the year. When you undertake a review this time of the financial year, there are a lot of obviously occurrences and events between now and the end of the year. It gives you a picture. Perhaps there are so many options and events that can happen. Obviously, it's not definite, but what David's prepared there is it's so that to give you an idea of where we are at this time of the year. David, so this is the report, and one of the main purposes is to let you know what the purposes and the adaptations are, and we adopted some of them in February, of course, and table 2 reflects the changes, amendments made with more detail under 2.3. One of the main elements, such as insurance, they're out of our control, and in order to meet the challenge, there's an adaptation to the income interest to deal with inflation. Under 2.5, you have the figure of 210,000. That's a figure that needs to be recognized. That will be met from the balances. This is a figure that will more than likely change during the year, but it's not. If it's not met from the balances, any amendments during the year may mean an underspend from other elements grant elements may be able to help us to bring that down, but it's difficult to foresee at the moment. Under part 3, the revised capital budget, just noted the amendments there. There hasn't been any capital expenditure at the moment. It either comes for grants or specific budgets. No. So under number 4, we're looking at the forecasted position. We noted the net budget amendments and the expenditure up to now, and the comparison there, how it was last year. It's pretty similar. The main difference is in the income from the car parks, and under 4.3, like car parks income is very high up to now this year. The visitor patterns can vary quite a lot, so we've had a bit more money in this year. As noted, there is 550,000 that's come in at the moment against the budgeted targets of 130,000. So just to note once again, under the same part, there's quite a lot of work being undertaken on Hafodr. Surplus income from car parking is allocated under expenditure there for Hafodr. Under 4.6, referring there to salary costs, because the settlement from the government is flat. The salary cost is hitting the baseline there. 1% means an additional 50,000 for the authority, and the increase last year meant that it was an additional 300,000 of a challenge for the authority in those terms, and we're not sure what the situation will be again this year, but it will probably be a similar figure yet again. Under 4.7 interest, the original budget target was set at 28,000. Up to now, 66,000. Well, 694 has already come in. although the interest rates will probably come down towards the year. And as a result, I've increased the target to 120,000, which is reachable. Under 4.8, the capital spends, there isn't any additional spend besides the ones noted in the projects or allocated spend. I don't know if you have any specific questions. Thanks, David. Before we go to the recommendation to approve the report and note the current financial situation, does anybody have any comments or questions to make? Under 2.5, could you expand on the 192,000? Just to be more specific, what are the sources that you're referring to? Like I mentioned, the balances of the authority would be the main source. Under 1.6, I'm referring to the SLSP grants there. Those are grants that have been given us by the government, but there's a delivery fee involved with that as well. And that's what means to the authorities that expenditure and services and salary, well, the delivery can go towards that, taking a part of it from the baseline. But because of that, it isn't easy to budget because we don't know how much percentage of the grant would be spent. It's not easy to include in the budget. Like I said, it's an amendment at the end of the year, but that would help towards the 192,000 there. Depends really where the deficit will be and where there will be overspend and underspend towards the end of the year. There may be specific funds that will meet some elements, not others. It's difficult to forecast at the moment. The only thing the figure reflects is it's almost 7 million. And there would be 2 million to find, and there would be money coming in from specific projects, etc., and those would be ring-fenced, and the others would need to come from either the balances or underspend during the year. I can see things like fuel coming down. Do we have to wait for that to come in for us to have to look at it towards the end? Well, we increased the budget quite significantly in order to meet that challenge because there's a significant overspend last year. So we're hoping that the budget will be there or thereabouts for this year because our fuels expenditure is fixed for the next 2 years. So whatever the spend is this year, then it'll be similar next year. So it'll be hardening. No, it'll be the same for next year and enough. The management team is quite confident that it's settled. There's too much guessing work involved, I guess. But the members have also included a safety net over the next 3 years. You said that there would be 1.4 million available for amendments, and as yet we haven't used that money at all, and the management team and the finance team are monitoring that carefully. So hopefully the advice that we're getting from the minister is keep your head down for a couple of years and the sun will rise again. And if that doesn't happen, then we will have to do some difficult things. Okay, for Louise.
Oh, am I unmuted? Good. Yeah, thanks, Chair. Page 79, 4.3, corporate car parks. Just something occurred to me. Apparently there's been a huge increase in revenue, which is great, maybe, but I'm sure the customers are a bit miffed about it. But it says it's reflected in the significant overspend on litter collection. Now, I'm really concerned about any mooted proposals to cut the litter collecting budget because, with the greatest will in the world, we have to clean up after people. You know, up in Craigennon Lakes, which is in my ward. I go up there regularly and pick up litter because I can't bear it, and I'm a womble through and through. But could I ask if there are any intentions to cut the litter collecting budget? Because that would really worry me. You know, we live in the national park. I think it's the most beautiful part of the country, but I'm a bit biased. And we don't want it desecrated or diminished by those sorts of people who think it's fine just to chuck their litter everywhere. So any update on that, or is it a little bit too early at this stage of the game?
Diolch, Louise.
Thank you.
Iwan can come in on this afterwards. We're overspending on the litter line since COVID, and so there are movements within the budget to input more money to collect litter. So we're putting more into collecting litter. We are considering which areas we're targeting. For example, if you do have a problem in Craigennon Lakes area, the National Trust are leading on that area. So pick up the phone on the National Trust in order to improve the situation there.
Okay.
Iwan, do you have any further information? No, you've said everything that's required there, I think.
Just
John Pugh.
can I have a quickie after that, please, Chair? It's just what concerns me is I know that Gwynedd Council have experimented with no bins, which theoretically is supposed to encourage people to take their litter home with them, but in practice that doesn't work and the opposite happens. So I hope we don't remove litter bins. That's all I want to say. Thanks very much, Chair.
Yeah.
I can come in there. In the past, we have tried to get rid of bins, but we have found that what happens is that people just leave the rubbish where the bins used to be, which is creating more of a problem. And so those of us who we have bins that compact with, so that there's more capacity, so that there isn't as much overflow. But it's an area that we're looking at. There is no simple solution. There is a campaign to make Wyddfa plastic free, and there are messages to please take your litter home, but we do recognise that we do have to make a provision for bins, etc., where litter is a problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
John Pugh. Plastan Bwlch 4.3. Increase in budget. How much has the budget been increased there? I'm talking specifically about the fuel or energy and the conveniences and energy costs. How much have you increased the budget? The figure isn't in front of me at the moment. Edgar, I just wanted to ask, really, is there a timetable? Because we will need a budget, and I do think it's important to bring it up to here today with regard to Article 4. I'm concerned that we're going behind a bit. And as an authority, I do think that we should make a statement of our intention as an authority to state that we are going to follow what Gwynedd Council have done. Lots of people are asking from England as well as Wales. We should be able to get a grant from the government to do this because it's the first time that it's happening. Gwynedd, I think they're concluding today, I believe, the consultation, that is. It has taken time, and I don't want to see the park doubling their amount of holiday homes in the meantime. I can't answer that at the moment because we haven't had guidance from you as members at the moment. John is going to provide you with an item in the next working group. Basically, the situation is we have to do it, but it's up to you if you want to. The matter of resources is intense. There are several discussions happening regarding should the Welsh Government fund every planning authority that wants to do it, and we're required to knock the doors on local government because they're raising the council taxes, and should the money be recycled here in the park, like Gwynedd and Conwy, of course, we don't have the power to raise taxes. I understand that. John, did you want to come in? I'm sure that Gwynedd Council will be willing to assist with that as well. But what I feel is that we need to make a statement about it. Thank you for that point. I don't disagree with the principle at all. The timetable hasn't slipped. We've already said that there will be a report being put in front of the members in October, so you will get the report next month, which demonstrates the standpoint of the park and comes to conclusions. The report has partly been prepared. We're discussing it in greater detail next month, and the evidence shows that it needs to be done, but resources is the issue at the moment, and that we've had discussions with the government and Gwynedd Council and others, and we're struggling to get the resources because we need at least 2 new officers if we're going to implement this. So we'll discuss this in greater detail next month, but I do have major concern really about getting the resources in to do it. As you know, we're on full capacity as a planning function already. Gwynedd Council have already done it, of course, and I'm not all that concerned. There are some against. There's some people on the phone the other day. It's not a referendum at the end of the day, and if it is approved to be implemented, then some have said that they'll take the council to court, and I understand that we need to hold back to see what the result of that is before we drive the same route. But we should make a statement as soon as we possibly can. Thank you very much. Thanks, Edgar. Does anybody else have any comments or questions before we go to the recommendation? You can see the recommendation there under point 6, which is to approve the report and note the current financial situation for 2023-2024. Do we have a proposal? Do we have a seconder? Can we have a show of hands in the usual way, please? Thank you both, Dewi and David, for your presentation. For information for members, I will be calling the chairs of the authority next month to see if you want to move quicker or slower with some elements of this. Okay, on to item 11. This is for information more than anything, which is to submit the minutes for information. And it's the minutes of the local joint working group held on the 30th of June. It's for information. I don't think there's anything to add. You have read it, I'm sure. The members did get a presentation on the staff element in a working group recently. Does anybody else have anything else they'd like to add? Item 12. Are there any reports available from meetings of other organizations from members? Any meetings that you've attended as representatives of the authority? If not, on that note, if there's nothing else, then we'll draw the meeting to a close and thank you for attending today. I just have one element. We do have a meeting of the PLAS board. Can I suggest that we convene at 11:15? Tracy's just asking if somebody can send her the link. So 11:15, convene for PLAS board.